hello, everybody. I'm Rick Dancer, and I'm your host today. Great Falls, Montana. If you've been dreaming of going to Montana, well, we have a way that you can get there. The city is looking for a deputy city manager. And so we're going to talk with the current city manager and also Michael from Clear Career Professionals. They're the organization that is doing the search for this person, maybe you. And we're going to find out about the town. We're going to find out about the employers, the city commission, how it works, the staff, everything you want to know in 30 to 40 minutes. So we're going to bring on Greg Doyen. How you doing, Greg?
Hey, Rick. Good to see you. Doing very good.
Good to have you. Well, and I'm glad to see behind you is a little sign of Montana. So we know that, if you're going to come to Montana, you probably should be or going to turn into a fisherman, a hunter, because Great Falls has everything the outdoors person would really want to see.
Yeah, definitely. There's some deeper meaning behind it too. So of course you have the muley over my right shoulder, and then to the back of it, when I started in the profession, I was under a town meeting form of government. So that is a classic portrayal of a New England town meeting behind me over my other shoulder. So it's kind of a deeper meaning than probably you would have anticipated.
So what do people need to, the first thing people want to know about Great Falls, what do they ask you as the city manager?
What do you do? What I think is so funny is that it's a strong city manager commission form of government, but it's the mayor that gets kind of all the attention with regard to that. So they kind of say, so you're like the mayor? And I'm like, no, I'm not elected. I'm appointed by the commission, which includes the mayor and 4 commissioners. And so a lot of people don't understand what a city manager does. And the best way to describe it is that would be like the chief executive officer of a corporation that answers to a board. And they kind of understand that illustration, I think, best of all. But the work that goes on to support the commission, the employees, the community, and the organization, I mean, it is some of the most diverse work that you could ever imagine. Just based on the scope and the breadth and depth of everything that we deal with on a day-to-day basis for operating a small city.
So why don't you go through and tell people kind of your 3 largest employers. You and I went through this the other day when we were having a discussion, but some of that, so people, the deputy city manager coming in, the candidate that we're going to look at here, that they would kind of understand what this community is all about.
Well, Mike can probably testify to this a little bit later on when he joins us, but I took Mike to an overlook by the Great Falls International Airport to show him the city. And the cool thing about this vista is that you can stand and you can see all of Great Falls right before you. And we're kind of buttressed by 2 military installations. One is at the Great Falls International Airport, and one is Malmstrom Air Force Base on the other side. So there's no doubt that in Great Falls, the military plays a huge presence and has a huge economic impact on our local businesses and companies that support the military and all that good stuff. And there's some things going on with it that are going to impact the next deputy city manager. And then you have Benefice and you have the Great Falls Clinic, which are 2 major healthcare providers. That's kind of the second leg of a 3-legged economic stool. And then on the third side of it, agriculture, because you can see from this vista the borders of the city, and then it just turns all agricultural. And but what's so cool about it is that you can see several mountain ranges from Great Falls on a clear day. You can see the high woods, you can see the little belts, you can see the big belts, and then you can certainly see the Rocky Mountain front. And so while it's not like right up next to the mountain, it reminds you of where you're at in Montana and how accessible some of these areas are. So it's pretty cool.
So, Michael, we might as well introduce you since Greg brought you into the conversation. Explain to our candidates and people looking at this that are interested in this position what your role is in this whole process, because this is an extensive process.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for having us on the show, and I really appreciate the opportunity to work with you and Greg and the city of Great Falls. We started this recruitment firm about 2.5 years ago as retired city managers ourselves, mostly in the Texas area. And then, we were able to start doing some more things nationally. And recently we were able to complete the city manager search for Columbia Falls. And that's where Greg was able to hear about our company. And Greg had reached out to me and kind of wanting to get some more information about our firm and our pricing and some of our core values. And so had a great phone conversation and was able to submit a proposal to him, and just really honored, first of all, to be working in the state of Montana. It's such a beautiful place, and it gives me a chance to get out of the Texas area once in a while and really see all the great folks up in Montana. But sort of what we do is we really work as a collaborative partner with the city. We will come in. I was able to spend a couple of days in Great Falls, able to spend time with Greg and all of his staff, and really just try to understand the dynamics of the organizational culture, really what kind of a candidate would work well in the organization and kind of bring, the right fuel and energy to a group of really great folks. And so really we kind of highlight marketing the position and, advertising it for the city, and actually reaching out to a lot of candidates and asking them to apply. Such a wonderful opportunity. And then, throughout the process, we'll work collaboratively with Greg and his staff on helping them select the right candidate until somebody's in the position. So it's really a great process for us. And really, we just try to be an extensive partner and really help the city out.
So, Michael, how important is this part of the process? Because that first initial contact with people, you want to make sure that the client or this applicant is going to fall in love with the place they're going. I would think that would be really important to make that match.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think, there's so many great things about Great Falls and this opportunity. And typically when we think about a job, we're thinking about, how much money do we get paid? What are my activities and work duties going to be? But, really when we start, thinking about actually applying for a role, especially one where you're going to be really contributing to a community so extensively, it really matters what the culture is. It really matters, the people you're going to be working with. It really matters if you can, work with Greg and the city commission and really help the community reach the next level and really just inspire folks to have a high quality of life. And so what this process really does is we try to be a little bit innovative on the recruitment side. And so, there's always been kind of a traditional, position brochure, which we have on our website, but these podcasts where we can really talk with Greg more about this opportunity really, I think, gives a candidate a good picture of whether they should apply. And if they apply, are they going to be a good fit for this, opportunity?
So, Greg, let's get back to you. So I want to know what a deputy city manager does.
Yeah, the deputy city manager is really kind of a critical role in the city manager's office. And they are appointed by the city manager, so they're not appointed by the city commission. And that's a little bit of a distinction because I'm the buffer between the elected officials and then the rest of the organization. And so really the deputy is there to support the manager's office and all the responsibilities that we have. And so broadly speaking, that's things like budget development, economic development, staff development, making sure that the divisions that fall under the deputy city manager are being operated well and efficiently, and then being really a support to the department head, the leadership team for the city of Great Falls. That sometimes I might have a little limited access, and so the default person is the deputy, and I always try to hire somebody that's going to complement my skill set. So that means that when the leadership team is engaging the deputy, they're going to get a different perspective, but the deputy is going to know kind of where my thought process and priorities are and just help guide, that department head in the right direction. So it's really a key trusted advisor role. And you need to have somebody that's going to have your back because they're going to hear things in the organization that you normally wouldn't. And that's just because you're the boss. And so people are going to be kind of testing the waters on a new idea or a policy or something of that nature. And they'll often go to the deputy to do that. And so it's a very important role. And then when I'm not there, then the deputy fills in. So the deputy is acting as the city manager. That's usually when I'm like out hunting, right? They're going to be filling in for me, and they're going to be engaging the elected officials. They're going to be engaging the community with community or constituent concerns that come in, businesses and so forth. So they need to know enough about the role to do it effectively when I'm not there. But in that role, they don't have the heavy mantle that sometimes city managers have in that role.
when you and I talked the other day, you're like the big picture guy. You're getting the information from the commission, from the community, and all that. So you're thinking big picture. You're looking for somebody who's going to come in with organizational skills that are just on the top, so they can kind of keep that focus. You're broad. They're going to be really hyper focused to keep you kind of on schedule and where you're going. Is that correct?
Yeah, and that's the complementary role that I think the deputy would play well in my office. And when I first got here, I came from a population of like 8,500, and then I jumped to 58,000. It was a little bit to handle, to be honest with you. I survived. I learned a lot. So the way that I lead an organization of this size is very different from how I first started. And so it's really good to have somebody that is going to pay attention to the details and see my blind spots and pick up on things that I'm missing in the organization. It's really easy to do when you have over 550 employees and you're dealing with a community of 60,000. So it's, again, a kind of a trusted advisory role that kind of is aware and helps me kind of stay on track with things that may be going a little bit sideways before they go completely sideways.
So I'm sure you told the story to Michael too. We want to hear the story on how you became a city manager, because I think people will enjoy this, because I want our applicant to get a real feel for who you are, because you guys are going to be working together so well. So can you tell that story for us?
Sure. Yeah, it's funny. Well, first of all, as you already asked, people are like, what does a city manager do? And then when I tell them what they do, it's like, how did you ever get into that? And I usually start off with a story that I was drafted into student council in the 3rd grade. So my local government career, I think, started and was deeply rooted back getting drafted in the student council, and then having this experience of like helping my classroom and then helping the school do things. And it evolved from there. I think I stayed in student council almost every year until I graduated high school, but it led into other things like Key Club. It led into serving on local ambulance service when I was a sophomore in high school. It rolled into me becoming a reserve police officer at 18 years old, 2 weeks after high school graduation. Everybody's still partying. I'm out on patrol doing that kind of work. And so I have a lot of varied experiences that led up to the city manager role, including I was a substitute teacher for a time. I was a water safety instructor. I ran swim programs privately and publicly for park and recreation departments. And after graduate school, I ended up becoming a planning director after I did an internship in North Idaho. And so I always tell people I was kind of groomed to be a city manager, and I didn't know it while I was going through it. But in retrospect, I can certainly see the benefit of having those experiences and then leading the very departments. In fact, I appoint the police chief and the fire chief and the finance director and the park and rec director. And so all of those experiences have really kind of culminated into this role. It's just been kind of cool.
So what are the Michael, let me go to you real quick. You toured Great Falls, and I know you're coming back because you have to go to Glacier National Park, because all you got to do is go. It's not really open that much right now, and you got a taste of the Montana bug. But what did you notice about Great Falls that you were so impressed with as a Texan?
Yeah, the first thing that caught my eye was, coming into the beautiful airport, kind of and landing up above the city. And, I was able to go up there with Greg, on the tour. But, really, something to me that catches my eye is the ability to, fly in and out of an area, especially, Montana. If you're looking at maybe moving there from another state, you maybe want to get back to visit family or friends. The airport to me was a real highlight, easy to get in and out of, and something that I think, most candidates would be like, hey, that's cool. I can travel pretty much anywhere in the country. But the other thing is the beauty of the city, the infrastructure that Greg and his team have worked on over the years is really, magnificent. And they've spent, a lot of time looking at how the city is going to develop. And, as Montana changes with more people moving in, I know Greg and his team have had their eye on, what can we do as a city to really make the best experience for our current residents, but also, bring in new businesses and new economic growth. And so, to me, as I toured with Greg, it was really impressive all that the city's been, working on. And there's really a sense of community there. And I want to applaud Greg for that. At the heart of every city manager, or hopefully deputy city manager, is a heart of service. And when we have that heart of service, we can really get in and do great things for a community, because it's not about Greg or his accomplishments. Greg has been a long-serving city manager, but the thing I noted most about him was he highlighted his staff, and things weren't about him. It was about his community. And so that's the kind of thing that makes me excited to recruit candidates, is when I know that they're going to be going into an organization that is healthy and vibrant, and they can really, take their leadership skill sets to the next level because of the organization they're joining.
So, Greg, you told me you have 550 employees in the city, and you kept going on and on about your leadership team, because you really have a tight knit, and this applicant will be coming into that. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about that, and why you're so tight, and what that looks like?
Yeah, anybody that has had a tight leadership team knows that it takes work. And whenever you introduce a new player, if you will, a new character into that environment, it takes a little bit of time for everybody to get adjusted to that new person. But what I've seen from the team when we've done that, and because there's a particular way that I do it, and it's not some secret initiation, but there's something that I do very deliberately when we have a new member that comes into the team. And it really, it goes beyond just why they're there and what skill set they have. It's really more about who they are as a person and what they can contribute. And when we go through this exercise, it really opens the door for connectivity between the department head team and the deputy. And it allows for outside conversations to occur, develop common interests or share common interests, just develop a rapport that kind of goes beyond the work. Because I want to make sure that the team is taken care of. And so I don't like it. You could ask any one of them what happens when they email me or they call me when they're on vacation. I do not like that. And normally it just happens once because they need time with their family to recharge, or they need time by themselves to do that. And so as a leadership team, we meet monthly. We have an offsite meeting that usually involves a lunch or a breakfast. We are very fortunate to have an on-site training coordinator and facilitator, and he is walking us through the 5 dysfunctions of a team at the moment, and we'll keep rolling through those leadership books to help the team develop. And then I have one-on-one meetings that are regularly scheduled with the department head team, where basically I can meet in an uninterrupted manner with the department leader and just give them full attention for the hour long, and just to check in on them personally and professionally to see where they are with their work plan, just to make sure that they're taking care of themselves, because we all know if you're not taking care of yourself, it's really hard to perform at work and do both really well. You can fake it for a little while, but you can't fake it for a long time. And then I really encourage professional development, like offsite professional development. So, I've gone through Leadership Montana here, which is a great program, and I am encouraging members of the team to go through that program as well. It's a lot of time out of the office, but it's worth it. And they need to be able to rub elbows in different arenas with different people that are either doing their work or not really related to their work, but they're just interested in improving themselves. So those are just a few things off the top of my head that I can think of that we utilize to try to really cultivate a culture that people feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves, that they can contribute, and that they can excel.
So this is like you're connecting to a family. I mean, you're coming into something where you're not just looking for somebody to fill a role. You want them to be part of this community and part of not just your city community, but very important to be part of the Great Falls, Montana community too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the work that they do is tough. It's demanding. They get criticized for it all the time because people don't understand what it takes to get things done. In some cases, they don't understand. They don't have their background. So whether it's dealing with a public meeting and a policy that gets adopted and was controversial, or they're having to deal with an employee issue in their respective departments, it's tough. And, we're pretty lean in Great Falls in terms of our staffing. And that puts some pressure on the leadership team to really collaborate and work together and support one another. They may have different primary areas of focus, but the one thing that we all share is that we're kind of in that meat grinder, that public sector arena that is so tough to deal with sometimes. And yeah, it's rewarding, and you can be satisfied with the job that you're doing, but it also, you have to find a good balance because it can be very difficult sometimes.
Okay, so when you and I first talked, and you can explain this to Michael too, because I think he'll get a kick out of this. Let's say I get the job, and what is it that what's going to happen to me? You came from the East Coast, and you all of a sudden became, this Montana outdoorsman.
Yeah. So, boy, where do I start answering that? Because earlier I was distracted by one of your photos because I actually caught a fish right below that rock that you showed in one of the photos earlier. So my mind is thinking about fly fishing a little bit.
So Greg, if the new deputy knows that you're out of the office and needs to find you, they will know you are on a lake, on a creek, on a river, on the Missouri, in a mountain, shooting elk, deer. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, there's two things that I want to share with you that come to mind. The first thing is that usually with a new department head member, and especially the deputy, they'll hear something sort of like this come out of my mouth in the first week. We'll sit down, we'll talk about expectations, which really by that point, there really shouldn't be that many surprises, but there'll be some things that need to get covered. And then it's kind of like, I don't want to see you for the next couple of weeks. I want you out in the departments, meeting people, taking facility tours. We're going to connect you with the stakeholders in the community so they can talk about what they're doing and what efforts are underway, whether it's the Chamber of Commerce or Great Falls Development Authority and other entities that we partner with, so they have a good awareness of it, because that's kind of important from the get-go for good footing. And then the other thing that they're going to hear from me is that it's going to take you a year to get settled. It's going to take you a full year. So number one, you're going to have to be patient with yourself. You're going to want to know everything and kind of dive in, which is the kind of energy I'm looking for. But you're going to have to pace yourself because I don't want you to burn yourself out either. The other thing that comes to mind when you ask that question is that, what is it about Great Falls that makes Great Falls so cool for me? And I think there's two things that are happening. The first one is opportunity, and the second thing is location. So the opportunity is that I'm definitely on the backside of my tenure here in the community. So somebody that likes this part of the country and is looking to become a city manager, there could be a possibility, maybe not in the near future, but in the foreseeable future, that there could be an opportunity if I decide to go do something a little bit different here. And I think that that's not something you're going to get from a brochure. And somebody that wants to be a manager at some point, there's all different kinds of ways to get there. And this is just one of them, is to go to a community in the manner in which I just said. The other thing is that we're in the middle of a growth management plan, and implementing elements of that growth management plan are going to be really important. And the deputy is going to be a big part of that. And Great Falls, its location, the second part of what I just said, we're the most affordable large city in the state. I think it's Montana's best kept secret. I think people are quick to dismiss Great Falls because it's kind of in high plains and not really proximate to mountains and that kind of stuff. But what they don't understand is that Great Falls is close to all the great things that Montana has to offer, relatively speaking, right? Because it takes a while to get anywhere in Montana.
Yeah.
Mike from Texas and kind of understands size and scale, right? But you can be at the edge of Glacier National Park in 2 hours. You can be to Yellowstone in 3 hours. You can be to Craig in 45 minutes fishing a blue ribbon trout stream. You can, and also within that time frame, 45 minutes to an hour, you can be in the middle of some really awesome elk hunting if you know where to go. And no, I'm not going to tell you where to go. You're going to have to figure it out on your own.
There are some things in Montana we just don't talk about.
Right. Yeah. And so if you love the outdoors, I mean, we have an unrivaled River's Edge Trail that if you were to Google that and look at the 60 some odd miles of trails that we have, you can just walk along a paved portion, or you can like take your life into your own hands along sections of the Missouri on a bike and really get a thrill. And so really we have an amazing trail system, which is very attractive. But if you like hiking, camping, and just getting outdoors, that's, I think, kind of a secret sauce in Great Falls that people don't fully appreciate. Yeah, so there's those two things: the opportunity just to come work with a great team, and a great commission, and also just to be in an area that is awesome to do all these things that are in the outdoors. And the last thing that I throw out there too, just from experience, is that we're close to Helena, and so Helena is about an hour 45 away, and that's the capital of Montana. If you didn't know that, if you didn't remember your fifth grade social science classes. But the reason that that's important is because for somebody that is looking to become a city manager or wants to get involved, it's kind of important to be close and proximate to the capital so you can have access down there for legislative activities. Our risk management pools are located in Helena. And then because it's a state capital, there's a lot of training opportunities and things of that nature. So people don't think about that, but that actually is kind of an important consideration.
And in Montana, it's different because you have basically maybe 4, 5, 6 bigger-ish towns. And when we're talking bigger-ish, we're talking 50,000 up to Billings is 115,000 or something like that. So yeah. You're really you're in a tight-knit group of people because all the other city managers and kind of what's going on in other cities as well. So you keep in contact with them. So which I think that's a little different than other bigger states, maybe not as easy, maybe.
Yeah, it's different. And that's another thing that I share with people that are coming in. I just, Mike had a chance to talk to the new manager out in Columbia Falls and just really kind of stressed how much I wanted to get him plugged into things. Because when you come out to Montana, it's not a large city manager population. And because we're so far afield, sometimes it's tough to get connected. So you end up at like the Montana League of Cities and Towns or executive forums, you end up seeing one another. But coming from New England, where there were a lot more managers that had their own annual conference and so forth, it was a little bit of a rude awakening for me. But my goal has been to try to connect managers in the state and to help them just get through the difficult things that they go through in their respective work areas, but also to do training and to have them share their knowledge with other managers. And so we've been able to do that in the last couple of years in a more formal way. It's really exciting.
So, Michael, with Clear Career Professionals, what's the process look like now? So, this person's watching this video. What kind of, can you give them an idea what that process is going to be like?
Yeah, absolutely. So, over the next few weeks, we'll be taking in candidates, and it's real easy to apply for that. They can go to our website at www.clearcareerpro.com. They can also, just email it to me, and my email is michael@clearcareerpro.com, or it's on a lot of the job boards. The Montana Municipal League will be showing it, and several other opportunities where you can link to that. But really, just getting as many candidates who are skilled at a high level and allow us to really get to know them well as we work with Greg and his team on kind of selecting those candidates. And Greg, I wanted to mention how important that outreach you have to other city managers has been, knowing that the Columbia Falls city manager is new to Montana, but he's also just recently retired from the Navy and entering sort of a new career field, although his retirement position in the Navy was similar to what he's going to be doing as city manager. Really, we always appreciate our fellow city managers being there for us and acting as mentors in those new areas. And so I think that that's what I'm really excited about is Montana has a lot of great opportunities for professionals throughout the country to come in and take their knowledge and skill sets and really just help not only a vibrant local economy, but kind of a vibrant state where a lot of people are now looking at moving to and being a part of, not only because it's natural beauty, but some of the cool economic things that are going on in the state.
So Michael, what about that? Oh, go ahead, Greg.
I was going to say, Mike brings up something that if you're an out-of-state applicant, I don't think you would know. And that is the in-migration into Montana has been significant post-COVID. And so everybody knows and hears about Bozeman, and we're about to get eclipsed, I think, here very, very shortly in terms of population from Bozeman. But Billings has been growing, Bozeman, Missoula, definitely Kalispell, where my in-laws live in the Flathead Valley, has seen just tremendous growth. And we're a state in change. And I know that people know that. And I think, people like growth and development, and they like, things like Chick-fil-A's and Olive Gardens and things that people talk about here locally that we don't have and they complain about, but then they get it and they don't think about what comes with that growth. And so I mentioned the growth management plan earlier, that there's a recognition that Great Falls is going to get discovered, and we need to be able to move forward in an orderly way and manner in order to make sure that the community remains healthy, that we can continue to serve the residents at the level that they expect in an affordable manner, and just continue to attract cool things. Like we ended up getting a osteopathic medical college here in the last year and a half, and that was a huge win for the community. And I don't think that the community fully understands what a huge event that was in this chapter of Great Falls history. But the incoming deputy is going to be in the mix of all of that, just kind of preparing for that growth, that change, and kind of helping to shuttle people through it, because it's not everything that they expect. Yeah, there's great things with it, but there's also some really challenging things as well.
So, Michael, just in case someone's watching or listening to this, and they're in a city, and they're thinking, somebody's leaving, staff's going, why don't you give yourself a little plug there real fast, just so people can get in touch with you? I mean, we're here, we might as well do that, right?
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Well, it's been an exciting journey for us, and a couple of our core values that we really sets us apart from some different recruitment firms is, having been candidates ourselves, we really felt like we wanted to treat the candidate as one of the most important components of the recruitment. And so, when a candidate applies with us, we actually call them every week and update them on the process and make sure that they feel like they're involved and that there's no information being exchanged that they're not aware of. And so we really try to make sure the candidates are happy with the recruitment process themselves. And so, I think, the more people realize that, and where we get it is, it's kind of based on our faith, but really just treating people like you'd want to be treated yourself, kind of one of our basic rules, right? But in doing so, we have really drawn in some really great candidates who will continue to apply if they aren't selected in an original position, because, we try to treat them with the respect that they deserve. And the other thing is we really try to be impactful with cities as collaborative partners, but also we try to make sure we're minimizing the budget impact on that. Trying to really hold down the budget as much as possible so that, the city can afford to get a recruitment firm to come in and really assist them with the recruitment. And I know that, it's an extra expense when somebody leaves your organization. It's the last thing you want to do is have to spend a bunch of money to replenish that individual. But, if there's firms out there who can come in and really be cognizant of the price with that, and then also really help get the right candidates for that, that's where our heart is. And so that's kind of how we as a firm continue to serve communities, is making sure that we're trying to bring great people to the cities and attract them. And so, yeah, certainly, people want to reach out to me. Like all of our information on my email address is on our website. So just always excited to be active in the community of recruitment of government officials.
Well, and look what you've already done by connecting Greg with the new Columbia Falls. You kind of build inroads, and you were a city manager, so you know how important that is for these folks for their career. This is not just a one-stop shop, and I think that's really super important for people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Greg, to wrap this up a little bit, unless you have something, and either one of you, if you have something profound you need to say, or slightly profound, you can fill in. But Greg, would you tell people, and Michael, I think will enjoy this. You probably already, but what are Montanans, like? What are people stepping into here?
Yeah, I think the West is definitely, I'll start large scale here. The West is definitely different from the East Coast in terms of pace. That's my first observation about being in Montana, that typically people that come here appreciate the slower work life kind of balance, if you will, that it's just not rush all the time, because people are drawn to Montana's natural beauty. Right. And so whether there's somebody that likes to shoot with a camera and taken the wildlife that way, or people that like to harvest for, for food on the dinner, for dinner, they can definitely do that. But people are hardworking. I mean, every community, just like in any other state, is going to have its nuances. So Great Falls was an industrial community, and it was in the refining business years ago, and that industry kind of came and went. And I think what drew people here, that industry to the river, is kind of what's drawing people back to the river now, but in a different take, that they're actually seeing the potential of developing not industry, but residences along the river and businesses, and kind of using the recreational elements of that river to kind of recreate Great Falls moving forward. And so people are hardworking. In this part of the country, if you think about it, we have a lot of folks that come in from the military that bring a little different depth into the community, and they're part of it while they're here serving their country at the Montana Air National Guard or Malmstrom Air Force Base. And then the agricultural community brings in a lot of different people from in the region. We're part of the Golden Triangle, and so there's a lot of value-added industry that goes on related to that. I think people are pretty generous and can be in Great Falls. And I think that there's a lot of people now that see the future a lot differently, and they're excited about some of the changes that they've seen in our downtown, along the river, and they're excited for things to come in the community.
And you will never have a weekend where you say, what are we going to do this weekend? No. There's always another mountain range, another national park, and you hop in the car and you go 2 hours, and it's no big deal because that's just traffic here. And should we tell them the one secret, Greg, that I'm new to Montana, like 3 years, but there's one thing we will tell you, and all applicants, this is a warning. You do not, if someone asks you if you watched Yellowstone, the movie or the television show, just say, I've seen it, but don't come into a community and start looking around for, any movie stars or stuff like that, because that you are on the out list in Montana. If you say, nope. We ran into some kids, young couple, and they came into this place, an immigrant down by the Paradise Valley, and they go, yeah, we're going to go look at all the stuff from Paradise Valley. We went into the hotel and we said, what is it around here? And the hotel people were staring at you. I said, let me explain why they were staring at you. Did you get a bad room?
We're not Yellowstone, that's for sure.
That's not a reality check on how life really is in Montana at all. Anything we're forgetting, guys?
No, I just I'll speak real quick and then allow Greg to kind of finish. But Rick, we appreciate you allowing us to be guests and talk about this opportunity for Deputy City Manager in Great Falls. Excited about participating with the city, and Greg, hopefully we'll have some amazing candidates here in the next 3 or 4 weeks to share with you and be able to really select the right fit for you.
Yeah, Rick, thanks again for being willing to host. It's been fun getting to know you, and it's been a real joy to get to know Mike as well through this process, and looking forward to get some really strong applicants and kind of work through the process and see where it leads. All
right. Thank you both. Clear career professionals, and Mike up in Great Falls, Montana. Is there a summer celebration that I need to come to in Great Falls that I just can't resist?
A summer celebration? Off the top of my head, I can't think of one, but you can just come up here because we've got great wind exchange and we've got blue skies most of the time, which is unlike other areas of the state. So there's always something fun to experience coming up to Great Falls.
All right. Thank you both for being here, and good luck to whoever's out there who applies for the job. We'll see you guys later.
Thank you.
So there you go. The information, you can go on the website, find out more information about the job and the position. I think you're going to end up loving Montana, because I'll tell you what, they don't call it Big Sky for nothing. It's like everything, and especially up by Great Falls, it's endless. And once you come here, it's really hard to leave. I'm Rick Dancer. Thanks again for being with us, and good luck to all the applicants that join out there.